Sinedu's first and foremost goal was to attend Harvard, go to medical school, and return to Ethiopia as a medical doctor equipped with skills she could utilize to better the lives of her people, especially the thousands of women each year who died there in childbirth. What she didn't expect was for her loneliness and feelings of isolation to intensify once she had achieved her loftiest of ambitions. But they did, and Sinedu got to Harvard, finding herself ill-equipped and lacking the social skills necessary to deal with this change in her life. Harvard expected their international students to show up and blend, especially considering that the same admittance practices existed for domestic students alike. You were treated the same at admission, so you were therefore now expected to assimilate at the same rate as domestic students. The same rate as some intensely wealthy students for whom Harvard was a legacy, even when she herself could not afford clothing appropriate for Massachusetts' crippling winters. Was it possible? I mean, it seemed to be for some because Trang was able to blend. But Trang had what Sinedu did not, a support system, both through her mother and sisters, but also through her activities and social circles. Trang was able to relate to and get along with many kinds of people from every aspect of life. Trang volunteered at a women's shelter and tutored immigrant students. She did lab research at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute along her own journey to medical school, with aspirations of becoming a pediatrician. When Trang was told that her grades likely wouldn't lead to a prestigious medical school, she didn't care. She was fine in rerouting her trajectory toward a medical field of study that left more time for the rest of her life, too. The same sentiment did not hold true for Sinedu because when she received similar news from her advisor, a further sense of hopelessness crept in. In Ethiopia, the learning style was different, and Sinedu was able to excel when it came to memorization and the downright learning of facts, but that didn't translate well at Harvard, and she found herself nowhere near the top, where she was so used to sitting. She chronicled so much of her Harvard life into specifically titled notebooks that journalist and Harvard graduate class of 1987, Melanie Thernstrom, gained access to and wrote about in Halfway Heaven, the book that's the main source of this episode. The journals had names like My Small Book of Rules, The Social Problems I Faced, Wisdom, Amazing Improved Events and How I Could Have Solved Them, Set Your Priorities, Stress, and Depression. Within, you find a young woman struggling with identity. The her that she knows is a quiet, subdued Ethiopian woman who has pride in being intelligent and strong-willed while striving for academic excellence that she now realizes she won't likely achieve here. Who she longs to be is someone reminiscent of a, quote, fresh pink rose in a sunny garden, not the boring and uninteresting person she knew she was in America. Here, it's fundamental to be an individual and speak your mind, Sinedu felt. But no matter how much she tried, she just wasn't able to relax, be friendly, and seem comfortable in her surroundings. She lacked the ability to relate to people on a superficial level. Small talk was a concept outside of her natural grasp. Sinedu had family nearby too, like Trang, but she found it difficult to relate to them as she did everyone else in her life. What she really wanted was friends, more so a best friend with whom to share secrets and giggles, and she truly hoped that she had found that with Trang. The summer weeks intervening freshman year and the start of their new arrangement found Sinedu as lonely as ever, and she desperately wrote sad letters of despair, mailing them to strangers selected at random from the Brookline, Massachusetts telephone directory. The letters, unknown in actual number, found their way to individuals like a woman who had a friend who worked at Harvard. She gave her the letter and asked her to get it to the appropriate people on campus, and the copy eventually made its way, unread, into Sinedu's Dunster House file. It said things like, quote, "Well, why am I writing this letter? Because I'm desperate. Most of my days are long and boring that I drag through them with sigh after sigh. Even the days that I call happy are randomly pierced with pain. My problem is that I am not bonding with people. I do not make friends, not even with my relatives. I live in my own shell, afraid to reveal my personality and to express my opinions. Although it took me a long time to realize, I'm very shy. I blush at every little thing. The mention of Harvard might make you think, okay, she is one of those successful people who made it in life. Unfortunately, I don't feel one tiny bit of the success. Despite the outward glory, I live in pain. All my life I have been plagued with social problems. All my life I have been wondering why I were not as happy or content as even the poorest or the stupidest girls I've met in my life. I always felt insecure and lonely, especially ever since my father was sent to prison for 2 years. Starting from that time, we were becoming financially poorer and poorer. As far as I can remember, my life has been hellish. Year after year, I became lonelier and lonelier. I see friends deserting me. They would take every chance to show me that they did not have any love or respect for me. High school turned out even worse. I got a scholarship to the best school in the country, where the children of the very rich went, in a country where the rich and poor could be told apart at one crazy glance. Day in and day out, I cried my head off. I was so lonely. Home was not a comforting place. I swallowed my pain and anguish just as my siblings did to theirs. I was so lonely, but I hung on tight because I wanted to come to the States in hope of a solution. The only way I could do it was through academic excellence, to get a scholarship, so I made the best use of my empty days. Now, I don't care about the past, but if I live, I want to be out there in the world, just like those my age. I want to have friends, eat with friends, spend hours on the telephone, go to parties, and if ever possible, have boyfriends. But I find it so hard. When I am with a group of people, I keep so quiet, I have nothing to say, that I send chills through those who notice me. Then I cry when people forget about me or dislike being with me. When I am with one person, I shake with nervousness, fearing that we will run out of things to say and she or he will be bored. For math I had a teacher, for painting I had a teacher, for social life I had no one. I am like a person who can't swim, choking for life in a river. You are one of the very few people who see me struggle. All you have to do is give me a hand and put into words what you already know. No expenses are involved and there are no risks. I'm sure one of your concerns, if you have gotten this far in this letter, is, what if I'm one of those criminals lurking around? But believe me, right now I am not strong enough. I would have been aggressive rather than shy if I was to hurt others. Also, if I had no control over myself, I would not have made it to Harvard all the way from Ethiopia. All it takes is a few hours from your week and some energy. Me, I have nothing to lose. I am so desperate. Please do not close the door in my face. Even if you are not interested, please give this letter to a friend or relative who might be. I would be forever grateful to hear from you. I anxiously wait to hear from you. In Trang, Sinedu hoped she had found, quote, the girl I thought I would really enjoy to be with a girl I would make the queen of my life. I guess the main problem of my life is going to be solved. At first, the pair spent time together outside of the pre-med classes they shared, but over time, Trang's busy schedule lent less and less time to socializing with Sinedu, who felt Trang pulling away as sophomore year trudged on. She considered Trang her best friend. though Trang had a best friend named Thao, also a Vietnamese immigrant who had just moved over about a year before to make a life for herself in the Boston area. And even though Trang had a busy life outside of class, she was still able to juggle her classes and get better grades than Sinedu. On weekends, Trang often went home to her mother and sister's apartment, while Sinedu stayed alone in Suite H21 of Dunster House, more acutely aware of her aloneness than ever. As these feelings intensified, so did Sinedu's behavior begin to change. Once fastidiously tidy, she was now a haphazard slob who couldn't bear to throw her food garbage in the trash. Trang didn't seem to see this deterioration as a sign of trouble within Sinedu, but saw it more as her roommate just not caring. As time went on, she stayed away even more and more. Though she hadn't wanted to, Trang had agreed to be Sinedu's roommate for their junior year, knowing she shouldn't and wishing she hadn't the entire time. As junior year wound down, Dunster House suffered 2 suicides affiliated with it 2 days apart in April of 1995, just as a national news story was about to play out on campus. Admittance had been rescinded from a prospective Cambridge, Massachusetts student named Gina Grant when a tip let the admissions office know she had a juvenile record. In 1990, at the age of 14, Gina had pleaded no contest to manslaughter in the death of her mother, Dorothy Mayfield, described by family members as a functioning alcoholic. Gina provided several different explanations for how her mother died by blunt force trauma to the head before implicating her 15-year-old boyfriend. Ultimately, Gina served 6 months in juvenile detention. Murderous Minors is brought to you by EveryPlate. I always watch those meal delivery kit commercials and think, I need to do that more because I truly love them, just usually not the price. Then along comes EveryPlate, priced so that more people can experience full plates and fuller wallets. It's America's best value meal kit. EveryPlate dinners are the cheaper alternative to takeout and delivery, and recipes come together in just half an hour, much quicker than going to the store for ingredients and cooking a meal from scratch. Sometimes you just don't have the time for all that. But you will have time for delicious restaurant-quality dinners like Tuscan herb chicken linguine, Dijon butter steak, and sweet and spicy pork chops that include great-tasting, high-quality ingredients. The best part for me and my hungry bunch is EveryPlate's affordable price. Think of it this way, one meal is the same price as a fancy coffee. Even I can get behind that. Enjoy your first week of EveryPlate meals for only $3.99 per meal by going to everyplate.com and using code WARBABY1. Save money by never buying more ingredients than you need because recipes come with everything already pre-measured. Visit everyplate.com and use code WARBABY1 and your first week of meals is only $3.99 per meal. Get ready for less time deciding what to cook and more time to enjoy good food with your family with EveryPlate. As Harvard seniors prepared for commencement 1995, tension on campus was ever more palpable. April hadn't been great for Trang and Sinedu's relationship either, as the rift between them continued to gape. Between semesters, Trang had been denied new housing and Sinedu felt denied by the attempt. In April, Trang found new roommates and broke the news, shattering Sinedu into splinters emotionally. When she approached those girls for acceptance, Trang rebuked them, explaining that she was trying to sever ties. Sinedu wrote Trang saying, quote, I thought we were going to do stuff together. You'll always have your family to go to, and I'm going to have no one. Trang wrote back saying, quote, Sinedu, as I told you, I have no resentment towards you. It's just our living habits are different. I don't want to belabor this point. It's unfair of you to accuse me of causing you unhappiness about rooming. Come to think of it, I've been very tolerant and as nice as possible to you. I respect you